and then rushing to do the work at the last minute. Our deadline is Tuesday. In the circumstance that something happens between now and Tuesday, what will happen? It's a statutory deadline. So we really need to work, not in a rush, not working because we must meet a deadline today, but let's do things in a systematic way. Yes, government? Committees and program-based budgeting.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you so much, and I want to thank the LOP for raising this matter. While representing the BFP, I made a passionate appeal to the House to actually try to align with a new system, the program-based budgeting system, where we have got 18 programs. And we strongly felt that in this alignment arrangement, Parliament would create 18 committees that match the program that we have. Because within a program, we have various sectors which are contributing to various objectives within that program. And we have to look at a program holistically by way of what each sector appearing in that program is contributing. So it makes a lot of sense to have a committee based on that particular program, because they will holistically look at, all the sectors contributing to that program as to whether they deliver the objectives as outlined in those various programs. So it is in sync with our thinking, and we strongly recommend, once again, that's the way that we should go.
I think the Committee of Rules should guide us on this matter and give us a response in 2 weeks' time, so that as we go for budgeting, we are aware of what we are doing. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the Minister has requested Parliament to restructure its committees. And I think he is right, because that is the better way we will move under the new program-based approach. I wanted a clarification from him. I want to know whether government is doing the same to have only 18 ministers, because every program should have a minister. And if we moved that way, the ministers will remain 18, the committees of Parliament will remain 18. And I think, although you refused my clarification, you would rightly answer that one, whether government is also moving in the same direction. Thank you.
You can actually ask that question to the leader of government business when she's in the House. The minister for him is appointed, he doesn't know. Keep that question for the Minister of Leader of Government Business. Next item. Nathan, we are going to the next item.
Item number 4, motion for adoption of the report of the Public Accounts Committee, Commission, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises on the operations of the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority.
Members, yesterday the report was presented by Honorable Senyonye, and we deferred a debate to today and adoption. So we now refer what was presented to the debate. The House is open to debate for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. I hope you looked at the report. I hope you still have the report. And if you don't have the report and you have nothing to add, we adopt. Yes, Honorable.
Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity, and I also want to thank the committee for the report they presented. Madam Speaker, from the report, I think as a country we have taken the saying that a beggar has no choice. We have taken it too far. And from the report, and also following the saying, everybody knows that not so long ago, there was what people were terming rumors that Entebbe Airport had become a property of the Chinese. But from the report, you could see why. Because if the agreement for the loan kind of gave Uganda to the hands of the Chinese, then it is right that the airport is named or is belonging to the Chinese. Number two, Madam Speaker, there are entities in this country that are supposed to protect the interest of the government and the interest of Ugandans. I'm looking at the Attorney General's office. I'm looking at also the Solicitor General. But from the report, and if I connect it to the earlier one of the Committee of Trade and Industry, you see that there are these entities that actually betray the government. Because the level at which they look at things, the level at which they defend the country is wanting. So such officers need to be reprimanded, and the officers involved need to take personal responsibilities. And lastly, Madam Speaker, I see that there are individuals in this country that have very little shame. They can do anything. Sometimes you wonder whether they have gone to school or not. The way they deal with issues. So such people, that names or their names come up when such reports come, such people need to be dealt with individually. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Taka, then you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I wish to thank the committee for the work done and the report. Madam Speaker, there was something in the report, an issue about entities that are not paying rent. And I got so concerned. And I always look at several other things that belong to government. One time, Entebbe street lights were switched off, that because Umeme was demanding money from government. Madam Speaker, I think there are some issues that we need to review the way business is run in government. At one time, we have hospitals that don't have water and power because they are not paying bills. Now, I looked at that report critically and I wondered, the Entebbe airport needs security, but for police to be at Entebbe airport, they should pay rent. I think there is something that we need to correct here. If these are entities, government entities, and whatever is there belongs to government, can we correct something in the way we run our business, so that we don't have money passing through hands that really you can't understand and explain? Police is supposed to pay rent. There is immigration, which is supposed to pay do what? That is a lot of entangling institutions. Let it be planned that such and such services are needed at the airport and their premises are here, so that we streamline the way business is run in government, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Members, one thing we must know that in every ministry, in terms of rent, utilities, we appropriate money for them. But the question would be, why wouldn't you pay for the utilities, much as the other one is also a government entity? But you are assessed differently as different entities. So you should not just consume utilities for free because you're working for government, and yet we appropriate money for you. Yes?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the committee for the comprehensive report that they have come up with. I was so glad that they were able to reach Arua Airport. Madam Speaker, it had been a narrative over the time. Always it had been appearing on the NRM constitution, and that Arua Airport is supposed to be elevated to international airport. Up to date, nothing has been done there. I want to know from the minister whether the airport has not been worked on. Is it because money has not been allocated for it, or is it just something that is always being said in order to get votes from West Nile? Because that airport serves as a route for countries that are bordering Uganda from north, west, like countries of Sudan, South Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. So up to now, nothing has been done there. What is happening? I want to know from the minister, if it's a problem of money, why has money not been allocated for that airport? And the complaint there has been that for the expansion of the airport, there needs to be, the landlords there have not given the land. If it is within the vicinity of the government to acquire land in order to expand the airport, why has it not been done? I beg to submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Is that Honorable Court?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, just speaking from what you have just mentioned, that money is appropriated to the different entities for rent. I think it's high time now that we are moving into ministerial policy statement. Our sectoral committees should scrutinize the ministerial policy statement because it will bring what was appropriated and how it was used. So we need to see if where the monies which were appropriated for paying rent, if it went really for rent, or if it was diverted to do other things. Right Honorable Speaker, I thank the committee for bringing out all this. I know Uganda is a God-fearing country. The committees went and unearthed and found a lot of rot, if I may call it, in the operation within the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority. I'm just wondering what Holy Spirit came onto the committee which made them came out with the recommendations they came with. Probably because this is what I would call the first report by the COSASE committee in this parliament, but the mistakes or the level of mismanagement to me are too grave to earn the sympathy, because the recommendation, which is only calling for apologies for mistakes which are so grave, to what in courts they are now promoting plea bargain. This is like a plea bargain. These managers who has mismanaged this project have entered into with the committee. The recommendations are too lenient. Thank you.
Thank you. John.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I want to thank the committee for the report. I just want to address myself to the issue of the Arua Airdrome. I want to thank the committee for having visited the Arua Airport. We also want to thank the government because it's a new facility. In the past, we were squeezed in some old building, but government has made an effort and provided a new facility. Having said that, because the Arua Airport is the busiest regional airport in Uganda. And so I've noticed that there are two issues. With the COVID pandemic, most of the baggage is checked manually. And this poses a health, should I say, threat, but also a security threat because you cannot actually be able to adequately check those baggages. And
no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love myself.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co Uganda, Office of the President.
Every marriage has 100% chances of succeeding. You know why? Because God created marriage, and God never creates failure, and God never designs anything to fail. Every marriage has 100% chances of succeeding. Is your marriage struggling and you're wondering whether it will ever succeed, whether you will ever make it, whether it's even worth holding on to? You got to tune into Unlocking Marital Bliss, because right here we provide the keys to unlock the bliss in your marriage, and you will be able to succeed. We've had testimonies, and lives are changing day by day.
Marriage must be a discipline. It must not be handled like a casual thing.
As women, when we have the outward expression, even our form of respect is tied to the outward things that you do.
Some women now have working class. They don't know how to handle their husbands because the marriage was has become like question and answer marriage. Do you have any tea? Don't you have hands to prepare it? Why have you come back late? Did I take your blanket? It's question and answer marriage.
Not any other place, but every Sunday, 3 p.m., right here at UBC, with the one and only Cyrus Rod, not any other.
Unlocking Marital Bliss.
Signed before a feasibility study report. I think if we look at that, then we get to understand that a lot of messes are bound to happen. And also, switch on. When you look at the report critically, due diligence is missed or it is skipped, and I think it is skipped intentionally. I don't think for a project which is long-term of this nature, we can afford to skip the process of due diligence, because that is when we get it wrong right from the onset. I implore that most of these recommendations, plus even more, should be taken seriously and implemented to the dot. And also to re-echo, for parts of the country, like northern Uganda, where I come from, eastern,
areas of Karamoja. We move a long way, or our people are moving a long way across the country to access Entebbe International Airport. I therefore join to support the recommendation of the committee to elevate Arua Airdrome into a state of an international airport.
Wilson.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I have read the committee report. They deserve applause. I raised to comment on the unpaid remittances to the NSSF. That, and vis-a-vis the recommendation they have come up with. In my view, Right Honorable Speaker, a committee of parliament, if a committee of parliament is doing its work to report back to parliament and they find an illegality, something that contravenes the law enacted by the same parliament, what do they recommend? The recommendation, in my view, runs contrary to the Act, the NSSF Act. The NSSF Act reads, and if I may quote, that failure to remit deducted money upon clearance of arrears, and the prescription is that a penalty of 10% per month of the amount in default plus outstanding interest. The committee did not come out clear on that. So in my view, and for other committees that will make such a findings, if a finding runs contrary to an act of parliament, a recommendation, in my view, Right Honorable Speaker, should not circumvent an act provided for by parliament. Thank you.
Information.
No, the person you're giving the information has sat.
It's to the whole house.
Okay. Then Eddie.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Considering the situation in which UCA was operating, this is to inform you also that I'm a member of the committee, but I'm allowed to give information. Yes.
Honorable Roland, a member of the committee does not debate.
Yeah, but I can give information.
That is as per our rules. Mohoma.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Speaker, allow me to thank the committee for the good report that has helped some of us have answers for our voters. Oftentimes, Right Honorable, we've been asked, you people, you mortgaged our airport. You sold our airport. I think this report has brought out facts on what really happened. I think we are able to explain where problems emanated. Right Honorable Speaker, there's a concern from one of the recommendations made. Somewhere they are saying the minister should come and apologize to the House and to the country. Whereas I would somewhat agree, but two things. When we are processing loan requests, there are stages we normally go through, including our own house. There is a committee on national economy, according to the rules of parliament, which always peruses, discusses, and comes out with recommendation to this house. What happened? Why did we go wrong? Couldn't we raise a red flag then to read this problem that is costing us a lot? I think we need also to evaluate ourselves. What was the role of cabinet? Because before any loan request is brought to parliament, cabinet pronounces itself. Where did they go wrong? Why weren't they able to also find out these anomalies? Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Milton. Honorable Milton, on page 12 of our report, number 2, it says, The committee observed that Parliament at the time of loan approval recommended. That means Parliament approved the what? The loan. And at the moment the Parliament approved the loan, there is no way you will castigate the Minister of Finance because he's implementing what you approved.
Thank you, my senior, for that observation. Honourable members, I think we needed to revisit this particular recommendation because in one way we had a role to play as far as this loan request was concerned. So I wanted to just make that contribution, Right Honourable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Right Honourable Speaker.
Yes.
Procedure. On that, we've got to be very careful. First, to avoid self-incrimination. Parliament, the world over, does not discuss details of projects before approving the loan. Number two, Parliament, the world over, does not draft agreements. That's an executive function. Number three, Parliament does not conduct feasibility studies. And Parliament, finally, does not do due diligence. Those are executive functions that we delegate to the technical part of the executive. Somebody has got to read the entire paragraph as pointed out or referred to by the Honorable Nandala if you want to find out and to exonerate Parliament. I think the functions must be separated and kept within the four corners of our Constitution. Otherwise, we will move haphazard. The procedural issue is whether it is procedurally right to leave that on the handset where we self-incriminate.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you very much.
No. Honorable Chairperson, can you first give us a justification as to why you thought it right for the minister to come and apologize and not incriminate Parliament, which approved the loan?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker,
I want to get an answer for the procedural matter. I want him to explain.
Yeah, Right Honourable Speaker, as Honourable Segona has clearly stated, when the executive comes to Parliament and requests for a loan approval, Parliament gives an approval, and that's what happens. But then the details, the mechanics of everything have got to be worked out by the executive with specificity, the minister in this case. So what happened? The Minister of Finance went ahead and on behalf of the country, signed a loan agreement with China's Exim Bank. And as I stated yesterday, with your permission, I'll just highlight this very briefly. The unfavorable clauses of the Entebbe International Airport Financing Agreement. In 2014, Government of Uganda entered into a contract with China's Exim Bank for the expansion of the Entebbe International Airport, which had the following unfavorable clauses. Number one, a requirement for an escrow account where all revenues of UCAA were to be deposited, and Beijing had to approve all expenditure of UCAA. We are talking about a sovereign state, Madam Speaker. But now that this entity has got its revenues, it cannot expend any of that money until it gets an approval. That's problem number one. Problem number two, Madam Speaker, is be approved by Beijing. That's another problem for a sovereign state, to have that in the agreement. The third issue is imposition of Chinese legal jurisdiction on the loan recovery mechanisms and arbitration. That in case there is an issue between us and Exim Bank, we go for arbitration. Where? In China. Once arbitration fails, you go to court. Where? In China. Now, that strips Uganda of all manner of immunity. So for the minister to sign such an agreement and bind us as a country, that's what we are saying is problematic. And also, in the same agreement, Madam Speaker, was the waiver of international immunity for Uganda. The The minister appeared before our committee, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Matia Kasaija, who signed this contract. And the minister acknowledged before the committee that these terms were problematic, they were undesirable, they were not good for us as a country. In fact, one of the excuses he gave was raised by one of the honorable colleagues that you see when you're poor, your bargaining power is limited. And that's why he says he signed this contract. And because he also acknowledged that this loan agreement was problematic, the minister told us that there has been efforts to try and renegotiate this loan agreement. Teams have been sent to China to try and renegotiate. But China refused to renegotiate. They said, we already put pen to paper. You either leave it or you terminate the contract. But Madam Speaker, terminating the contract would be extremely expensive on the taxpayer because there will be sanctions, there will be penalties to be paid. And so the contract continues as is. So the minister himself admitted that this was very problematic. And we had a debate, Madam Speaker, as I wrap up, within the committee.
Can we first hear from government?
Yeah, thank you.
And then Nathan, you will come.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm glad my colleague, Honorable Joel, is referring to some of the clauses in the agreement. Right Honorable Speaker, I do have a report of the Committee of National Economy here, dated July 2015. And the chairperson was Honorable Xavier Choma, Kampurira, and it was signed by very many. In the report, on page 7, they state conditions. One of the conditions for which the minister is being accused is stated in the report here and approved by Parliament. It says, the repayment reserve account and the sales account shall be opened and maintained with the escrow account bank and be subject to the escrow arrangement under the escrow account agreement. An on-lending agreement to be signed by the government of Uganda and CAA in the form and substance. Number 3, no, I'm reading this report of Parliament and I'm laying it here. Number 2,
honorable members,
please just wait a bit. I gave you your time. Allow me to show you, yes, your own data.
Allow.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Patrick.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Patrick.
Right, Honorable Speaker.
I know you are a good listener.
Right, Honorable
Why don't
Speaker.
you first listen?
Right, Honorable Speaker, this report which was adopted by the House in 2015. Also, I saw the committee saying the procurement laws were flouted. On page 11, there is a recommendation on the contractor, okay, and proven performance stroke capability of the contractor. The committee was able to ascertain the technical capabilities of the procured contractor for this project when it visited some of the construction projects that were or are being undertaken by the contractor in China and Ethiopia, and is certain that CCC Limited has competence to implement and deliver. Parliament approved it. So what you're trying to do is to indict yourself as Parliament. You approved all this. You can't go back, turn around, and accuse people who implemented what you approved.
Clarification, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, you don't switch on the mic and start asking for clarification.
Madam Speaker.
How gone? Nandala?
Right, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
How good? Nandala?
Right, Honorable Speaker. I'm so happy that this debate comes at a time when we're having members who were, some of whom were there before, and they understood the whole process. I'm also happy that Honorable Taib has managed to get out that piece of document so that we have some reference. But Right Honorable Speaker, this House needs to be aware that the Parliament approves loans and not agreements. And the big thing we have here is on the issue of agreements. And my colleague who is saying an order that he doesn't understand here, should be told that it is the duty of the executive.
There is an order. By the way, Honorable Ogon, he understands. He don't have to say he doesn't understand.
Madam Speaker, whom I thought he knew the law very well. And Madam Speaker, before I read the order to him and his charge sheet, let me refer you to the Constitution of Uganda and Article 159. 159, and we shall start with 2, then 3, then 6, then the rest I leave for you. Madam Speaker, I'll read for you. We shall do 2, 3, and 6. Madam Speaker, this is power of government to borrow or lend. And I want all committees to read this law very well. 2, it says, government shall not borrow, guarantee, or raise a loan on behalf of itself or any other public institution, authority, or person except as authorized by or under an act of parliament. That's number 1. And the 3 says, an act of parliament made under clause 2 of this article shall provide that the terms and conditions of the loan shall be laid before parliament and shall not come into operation unless they have been approved by the resolution of parliament. And the 6, that's the law and that's the constitution, sir. An agreement, Madam Speaker, an agreement now, which you said the agreement don't come here. An agreement entered into under clause 5 of this article shall be laid before parliament and shall not come into operation unless it has been approved by parliament by resolution. So, Madam Speaker, what is raising, all agreements, terms are laid here. It is, and they are taken to our Committee of National Economy. They are brought here, they are approved. And if we have approved them wrongly, we have approved. So it's my colleague, Cyrus, who is my Amran, in order to say that agreements are never brought in the House, and yet the Constitution says.
Honorable members, I thought I had to rule on the order. Patrick, can you sit? The Constitution is very clear on powers of government to borrow or lend. And it states, as it has been read, that government shall not borrow, guarantee, or raise a loan on behalf of itself or any other public institutions without the authority of parliament. So, Honorable Silo, the agreements are approved by parliament. Yes.
No, I'm still on the floor, please, my brother. That was the point of order to be. Honorable Speaker, I do acknowledge the presence of my in-law here, Honorable Nandala. Thank you for the counsel, but that is just a part of the world thinking. Honorable Speaker, I know one thing. Yes, the Constitution demands that the Parliament does allow for government to borrow. But I can tell you in the process, government has a duty to do the due diligence, which this House does not have. Right, Honorable Speaker, wait. Of this House.
Order, Madam Speaker, order.
Decorum of this House demands that when a member is on the floor, the rest listen.
Order.
They contain the pain and wait for your moment. Yes.
There is an order. There is an order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, with due respect, as we debate, we must be mindful of the powers of this House. We have our rules of procedure that govern and conduct our debate here. Even when we have challenges that we have right now, we don't need to put aside our rules of procedure. Madam Speaker, Rule 178 talks about the powers of the functions of the Committee of National Economy. 107. One of the function is to examine the terms and conditions of the loan. So, Madam Speaker, if the committee, after scrutinizing the terms and conditions of the loan request and presents the report on the floor of Parliament, and Parliament approves the loan, there is no way we can deny that Parliament has no duty to scrutinize the loan.
Procedure.
Therefore, is it in order for my honorable colleague to assert that Parliament doesn't have powers and the capacity to
Madam Speaker, actually you are right, I didn't say so. I didn't say we don't have capacity, but I said there's a procedure.
Under Rule 178,
Yes.
the functions of a Committee of Natural Resources, one of them is to examine the feasibility of the loan that is being given out. In the process of doing the feasibility and scrutinizing, you do the due diligence, whether it's a feasible project. And if it is not a feasible project, it is a committee that reports back to this House and says this is not feasible enough, and then the loan can be rejected.
Much obliged, Right Honorable Speaker. So what I was trying to bring into question is this. Government usually asks the Office of the Attorney General and Solicitor General to look through agreements. So I am trying to pinpoint the point of mess that we have somewhere. How come that such an agreement can go through and come even to the level of Parliament, and the Office of the Attorney General then and the Office of the Solicitor General cannot raise a red flag on this? For me, this is my concern. And this is how the people whom we want to hold culpable are going to escape. Madam Speaker, we need to open up the whole thing, the curtain, and check who were the people then responsible. Because they are the ones who guide the whole process. They misled everybody. They must be caught ready-handed and they must be dealt with.
To get all these loopholes. What I expect of you, honorable members, is say, let's ask for a value for money audit. It's a problem. We've seen a problem. Now, what is the way forward? You have seen you lamenting. Okay, another lamentation from Musani.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm lucky I was here in 2019 when all this happened. For somebody to bring up just a small part of what happened and read it here is really unfair. Right Honorable Speaker, you were in this Parliament, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
There's an
Right
order.
Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
Just a
They've
minute.
allowed order.
Patrick,
Thank you, Right
just a
Honorable
minute.
Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, is it in order for a member who knows this loan was passed in 2015 to come on the floor of Parliament and lie that it was passed in 2019? Is it in order? This loan was passed in 2015. And you are still in Cassandra, you are not yet a member. Is it in order?
Honorable, the committee, there is passing and disbursement. Those are two different things. No, there is passing and disbursement. Now you're talking to people who know it. You're not talking to historians. There is an approval of the House and then there is a disbursement. The House approved it in 2019.
Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable Taiwa is being unfair to this House and to this country. Matters of this loan came to the House.
Which period are you setting?
Right Honorable Speaker.
What is your period?
Where I was going before Honorable Taebwa interrupted me. This House, everyone knows, you do not have technical capacity in this House. Right Honorable Speaker. We do not have technical capacity. We do not have even the budget to go, say, to Beijing, to go and evaluate all these details. And this House, and that's a fact. Right Honorable Speaker, we always depend on the goodwill of government. When the government comes to us in this House, they present the goodwill and we trust them. And we say, since the minister has evaluated, because the ministry has, the government has technical capacity, they have the money to go and do diligence, to go and do all this. We always depend on the goodwill of the ministers. The ministers come here, they report to the committees, Right Honorable Speaker.
Right Honorable Speaker, it's not in order. Is it in order?
Honorable member, let's debate with calmness. I don't know why you're raising your tempers on this thing. The same House gave out the money, and we are now looking at a way forward. Patrick, I don't expect such. I don't expect such from you. Debate with calmness. When you come, your point will be received. You don't need to blame anybody. They report, get a legal advice from the Attorney General. Get a legal advice, and then you will debate from there.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, the point of information I want to raise on is that we are in this together. Parliament, executive, yes, because the Constitution has laid out roles that each one of us is to play, and we are complementary. For it is not correct to say that this House does not have capacity. This House has capacity, and its capacity is created by law. Was being discussed and being discussed. The Parliament went to Ethiopia for due diligence. Parliament did. It's on the record. So is it in order for a member to stand here and tell the whole nation that we members of Parliament do not have the capacity to look at loans?
Honorable members, one thing I need to let you know, in the committee report of then, the committee for benchmarking and to carry out due diligence in China and Ethiopia. Here is the report that was presented to the House, and based on this report, that is how the loan was approved.
Madam Speaker, I want to seek again help the Parliament in the Constitution. Article 90, Committees of Parliament. Just 1 minute. Committees of Parliament. Just for 1 minute. Madam Speaker, Committees of Parliament, it's on clause 3. In the exercise of their functions under this article, Committees of Parliament may call any minister or any person holding public office and a private individual submit a memoranda or appear before them to give evidence. B, and that's the most important, may co-opt any member of Parliament or employ qualified persons to assist them in the discharge of their functions. This is a constitution. So you cannot come here and say we don't have capacity, first of all, you have capacity to call a minister, you have the powers of the High Court, and that is C, and you can even get an expert to help you. And one of our main experts we have is the Auditor General, who has the capacity to do value for money, to do any audit you want, and is an office of what? Parliament. So, Madam Speaker, while you were raising all this, informing a man who is informed.
Rakajara?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Nandara. I know you are very informed, but I've been a commissioner of Parliament for 5 years. And I want to assure this Parliament that we have enough technical team that can give us information we want and technical advice that we want. We have been also appropriating funds for verifying any information we want in and out of this country. Thank you so much.
So, Madam
By the-
Speaker, Madam
by the
Speaker.
way, just to add on what Raka is saying, we have a very, very good technical team. Very good technical team, and leader of opposition will bear me witness. He has somebody called Charlie Gonza. Very good technical team that can do work for us. And one thing is Parliament has capacity. Full capacity.
Madam Speaker, in that regard, by the way, we have even the budget office here, a well good budget office. So, Madam Speaker, one of the things we should be really concentrating on, I have heard Cyrus raising an issue that were you a member of a committee? No, I wasn't a member of a committee, but I was a member of Parliament then. And I want to tell you what Parliament has passed, whether you are present or absent, it binds you. And I don't want us to change things for the sake of changing. And you are leaving this report. We should deal with the report in the right way, but not trying to look for faults and whatever. There is no way. You should ask the Minister of Finance here to come to apologize when you are the one who approved the terms, you are the one who approved the agreement. And I don't know why also Kasaja also comes to panic. He would have said you approved. That's number one. Madam Speaker, I have here a letter of offer. I have here the letter of offer, and I want to read it to the House. It is in the Chinese, but it was following our letter. And this is a letter of offer. Yes, I'm a Chinese, and I can read it in Chinese. By the way, I know many languages. But if you are not aware, I've been in. I will read it here on the table. So, Madam Speaker, I want to state that on 8th October 2014, we wrote to the Chinese to design, build of upgrading and expansion of the Entebbe International Airport project, phase 1. Number Entebbe Airport. It is not talking about Arua. It is not. So when we're discussing, we're talking about Entebbe Airport. If those people went to Arua, went for a visit. Now, that was our request, and this is what they replied. On 10 September 2014, the Chinese reply. The Chinese is a headline, China Communication Construction Company Limited. CCC, whatever is there, whatever sees. And this is saying, build of upgrading and expansion of the Entebbe International Airport project, phase 1. And I want to summarize. It is talking about $200 million, and this is the purpose of the million. We have examined the conditions of contract, employers' requirements, and hereby offer to design, contract, complete, and remedy defects and thereunder in conformity with the conditions of the contract for the accepted contract amount of $200 million. I would love my chief whip to tell me the date of the report, because this one doesn't matter the date of the report. What I want to put.
Honorable is 15th July.
15th July of which year?
Yeah, 2015.
This is 2014. That means this letter, even it has a stamp of Parliament. We received it. And these are maybe the summary of the things. One, general items, $9.3 million. New cargo center complex, $42.6 million. New passenger terminal complex, new passenger terminal, $62.56 million. Strengthening of the runway 17/35 associated taxiways, $19.7 million. Strengthening and expansion of apron 1, $26.1 million. Rehabilitation apron 2, $5.6 million. Strengthening of apron 4, $7.6 million, strengthening of runway 2012/30, and associated taxways, $12.4 million.
Yes, Procedural
Madam
matter.
Speaker, the reason I'm raising design and expansion, $13 million. Madam Speaker.
There is a procedural matter.
Madam Speaker, these were part of the agreements.
Procedure, sir.
There is a
Procedure.
procedural matter.
I'm not a Chinese, I'm a Ugandan.
Right Honourable Speaker, I thank you for your kind indulgence. I have been patiently listening to the debate. I'm trying to wonder what mischief is being cured by the nature of debate on the floor. First of all, a discussion about capacity. There's a difference between having capacity and being capacitated. Capacity is legal, being capacitated is technical. There's a reason why all of us cannot call ourselves the Attorney General. We are ministers of finance. And the AG says we are in this together. I can't sign on your behalf. Right Honourable Speaker, this committee is, the report here is the report of Parliament. And there's nowhere it is written that the recommendations here are conclusive. In fact, this House is clothed with legal capacity to say we are lifting the recommendations. The minister has no political responsibility in this, but the House of Parliament is guilty. It is, I mean, it is within the realm of this House to do so. Right, Mr. Speaker, would it be deal with the recommendations to avoid veering into the kind of debate that makes members of Parliament look like hired guns on the floor of Parliament? And we lose track of guiding an entity over which a committee of Parliament, our own committee, has reported, right, Mr. Speaker, and that we avoid looking as though, of course, I am not oblivious of the collective as government, because we are part of it. But the particular work of a committee of Parliament is distinct from a delegated role to cabinet, right, Mr. Speaker. I'm so concerned about where we're going, and probably we might fail to process this report. I am actually thinking myself that the report is not conclusive, which is why we are debating it. Can we, right, Mr. Speaker, get into having this report aligned to give this House of Parliament the kind of direction that will compel the executive to act on the gaps so being raised in the report, right, Mr. Speaker? Wouldn't it be proper?
Honorable members, I raised this thing immediately. Everybody got up. And I was saying, let's look at a way forward. Let's look at a way forward. Let's do a value for money audit for us to apportion blame and determine who did not do what, when, and where. Much as Parliament does the approval, what after approval? Who did not do what? Did PPDA do its work? Did the minister do his work? And all the rest. And that's what I was telling you before. Let's look at a way forward. This is the first report from COSASE, and it is not exhaustive, as I said yesterday. Yesterday I said the scope of the report was wanting. You covered one area. So we are going to ask Auditor General to do a full audit of UCAA and then